This today is going to be one of the most beautiful chess games ever played. This is game 7 of the annotated game section. This is Nimzovich, yes, the famous Nimzovich versus Alapin. Yes, the eponymous name for the C3 Sicilians. But it's not Sicilian today. We actually got a French defense. E4, E6, D4, D5. This is the French defense. Black is challenging the center with the D pawn. Both sides develop. And then white, Nimzovich, he actually exchanges on D4 on D5 here, which is a completely fine, natural way. In fact, this is actually what I recommend in the practical tips section of my course. The disadvantage, of course, is that after e takes D5, this bishop now comes alive, whereas before it's stuck behind its pawns. The thing is that black actually ends up taking with the knight. Um, a lot of black players, when they play the French defense, they really hate this exchange variation. They find it dull and boring, and you can see that there is a symmetrical pawn structure there. But you should never let boredom make you play bad moves. Clearly, taking back the pawn is the much better choice, instead of moving a piece twice and keeping this bishop locked in. After knight f3, black then plays c5. And I hope um, as we go through these annotated games, you start getting a sense of where the danger lies, of where the mistakes are coming from. This move isn't necessarily a mistake. Strategically, it makes a lot of sense. It is fighting back at the center, um, trying to exchange some pawns. If there is an exchange, this bishop comes to a great square, and it's generally a useful move. That said, it is an extra pawn move which doesn't help with development. It does fight for the center. It is fighting for the center. So again, it's not a bad move, but every pawn move, by definition, is not a piece move. You've got to be careful. After there's the exchange, we now see, oh, the other little tidbit. Black is bringing his queen out early. Now, there's no immediate attack. There's no knight c3 to hit the queen. Bishop c4 just blunders the piece. And so it's not as if the queen is in an imminent danger of being hit. But whenever it's out early, you know, danger can follow. So if you're moving pawns early, moving the queen early, you got to be really careful. Nimzo keeps completing his development. Bishop e3, and now black exchanges, exchange, and then how about this? Another pawn move. Now, I have to be careful because this isn't necessarily a bad move. If you turn the computer on, it's going to tell you this is one of the best moves there is. It's simply blocking any piece from coming here, which could be really, really devastating, actually. Especially with the queen moved. For example, knight b5 into c7 is an absolutely huge fork, and it can be difficult for black to deal with this. By playing this move, black can now rather effortlessly finish his development and castle, or at least that's the idea. But at the same time, it is a pawn move, which means he's falling further behind in time. And Nimzo basically tempts black with a Alapin with, you know, almost a Faustian bargain. Bishop e2. Preparing to play bishop f3 on the next move, seizing this important diagonal, and then hitting the queen. The question is, do you take it? Do you take the free pawn? Black does. All right, bishop f3. Bishop now comes to that diagonal at full time. Come back here. Queen goes to d2, and what do you see? What has happened? Black has spent times making pawn moves, bringing his queen out early, and winning material. All of these, again, it's generally a recipe for disaster. Whereas white has all of his minor pieces developed and is ready to castle next turn. White is primed and ready to use his pieces to attack. And that's really want you to understand as you're going through my course. Like the thought process you want to internalize is we develop our pieces and then we use our pieces. That's what happens here. Black plays e5. Makes perfect sense, right? Now this bishop is able to come fully alive. Both bishops can come alive. Once the knight moves, it'll be easier to play knight c6. Again, we can't play it right away because white has too many pieces attacking it. It's fighting for the center. Like, what's not to like? Well, what's not to like is that it's one more pawn move. When again, white has such a huge lead in time. And when that happens, that's when we want to turn off the automatic moves. The automatic move is to move this knight somewhere, then castle and go. But remember, we did sacrifice this pawn, and we have such a huge lead in time. Is there something else? something else that we can do. Nimzo castles, sacrificing a whole piece. Because after take, oh look, another pawn move not developing, take, what do we see? We see a black army on the back rank, absolutely no development. We see a king sitting in the crosshairs, and look at this. The last piece is ready to jump in at a moment's notice, completely barreling down on that king. Black is in huge trouble here. What does black do? Black ends up playing knight goes to c6. Now again, the most obvious move, the most natural move, is simply rook goes to e1. Finishing development, last piece of the attack, it's with check. Like, what's not to like? After bishop e6, though, what's our next move? It's not immediately obvious. Because, well, what do? Backing up. Again, that last thought process tip that I'm trying to give you to make you understand is we want to turn off the automatic moves when we get into this position. We want to think sort of deeper, if you will. We have all these pieces. How can we use them? Yes, the E file is a factor, but we also have complete control of the D file. We have two amazing bishops that are coming across the board. Can we use those together? Um, if you think like that, and if you're, a genius like Nimzo, uh, you might find the next move. It's the absolutely amazing bishop goes to f6, an empty square sacrifice. Look at this. The bishop can be taken by anything, right? Pawn, queen, whatever. Like, what the heck are we doing? Well, the idea, if black were to do nothing, I'll just make a random move. It's check, take. We got a checkmate right there. So we're threatening mate. It kind of looks like the opera game, Morphy's opera game, backing up. So that's a threat. But I mean, we can just take this guy, right? Sorry, not the rook e8. Why don't we just take it? That's what happened in the game. Now the check slides over. And look at the difference. Before, we had this bishop on. Let me just see if I can scroll back and find it. We had this bishop here, right? After knight goes to c6. The thought was that we play rook e1, but bishop e6, what do we do next? Well, by doing this, there's no bishop here. So after bishop e6, we actually have checkmate. You can't take because of the pin. So you see what we did? Or what Nimzo did, is you move the bishop to fully open the d file, which lets our heavy pieces lock straight in at that king. Okay, so bishop e6 doesn't work. What do we try? We try bishop goes to e7. And now the second power that we have is again that open d file, and it's a very similar idea. Nimzo's going to exchange on c6, removing one of the defenders. He moves out of the way. What would happen after taking? Well, it's just like that. And again, it's a pin, so the bishop can't take. Oh, frig. So he tries to run away. Again, he's still up a piece. He's still up a piece. We have to figure this out. But again, it's the exact same. Check, take, and that's mate. Isn't that fantastic? Utterly beautiful. One of the most famous and most beautiful sacrifices, combinations in chess, starting here. Now, in my previous videos, I've tried to say, okay, here's some tips and tricks on how to find some of these moves. This is an extraordinarily difficult move to find. Like, unbelievably hard. There are people, strong players can look at this for 20 minutes and not come close to it, right? But hopefully, again, the overall thought process makes sense. When you have that big lead in time, you can turn off the automatic moves and look deeper. Look at the most forcing moves that you can. And hopefully, at least conceptually, it makes sense. We're moving the bishop, we're threatening checkmate, and by moving the bishop, we're able to use the d file. Again, backing up, the bishop is great, but our queen and rook are just staring at it. Once we move it, we can now fully cash in on these files. We can see complete, full development. Every piece is developed by move 15. Black still has half of his army, more than half of his army, asleep. Hopefully the result doesn't surprise us. Unbelievably good game. Now, after viewing this, can you play like this? Probably not. But can you at least do something perhaps similar? Can you notice when you have a big lead in time and then you turn it almost into puzzle mode? Do I have a better move, something beyond automatic? Well, hopefully we can start building that habit. And so once more, if you get that huge lead in time, cherish it. And then turn off the automatic moves, just the routine things. And look, do I have something bigger? Spend some time. Because if there's something great there, you got a better chance of finding it. Let's just continue with that final combination one last time. Picturesque, beautiful. So that's going to be it for this one. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this is inspiring. Chess is beautiful, and when we see a great game, it's just I have to share it, and hopefully you appreciate it as much as I do. Otherwise, that's it. I'll see you in the next game. Smithy Q. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.